JJ the CPA here. Hope you're doing well. Related to PPP, this is a video recapping a number of things that I've already put in videos, but I'm getting a lot of recent questions related to this. So I'm putting together another quick recap related to PPP, mostly also that I can use it as a link to answer these general frequent questions. So know this, if you are a Schedule C filer, sole proprietor, self-employed, gig worker, independent contractor, single member LLC that files a Schedule C or a Schedule F, you're considered self-employed. If you filed a Schedule C, then your forgiveness is simply your 2019 Schedule C line 31 divided by 12 times 2.5. That's it. It's just a calculation. There's nothing that you need to pay yourself. I am going to put a link to this one specific, very important video that you can send to your bank to justify the fact by law, according to the IRS and the SBA, that you're not an employee. You cannot pay yourself payroll because there's no such thing. It doesn't exist. You're not an employee of the Schedule C. Find that link. As it relates to the Schedule C filer as well, when it comes to the forgiveness, whatever amount is forgiven, there is no tax adjustment. It is tax-free to you. The exception is if you're also an employer to other employees and you are paying them as a W-2 employee, and you also got PPP as an employer, so you got it as a self-employed, as well as an employer. So for the amount that you get forgiven above and beyond Schedule C, line 31, divided by 12 times 2.5, to the extent that you have payroll, rent, utilities, only if you have employees, do you then reduce down the expenses of the PPP used that was then forgiven as a reduction of those expenses? So you really have to separate it out. Here's the thing to note. If you're self-employed and you don't have any employees, you are not paying any employees, then your self-employment, Schedule C, Schedule F, is all you're going to use to determine your forgiveness, and it's tax-free. There's no adjustment. You're done. You'll file a Form 3508S. You'll indicate the maximum of $20,833, which is the maximum that can be included, which is no more than $100,000 of 2019 Schedule C, line 31, divided by 12 times 2.5. So if your Schedule C was a net $180,000, $120,000, $250,000 for 2019, only $100,000 of that is going to count as your beginning figure for the calculation for your PPP forgiveness. So the maximum that you're going to get forgiven is $20,833, $100,000 divided by 12 times 2.5. If your Schedule C line 31 for 2019 is less than 100,000, you're going to take whatever that figure is, divided by 12 times 2.5. That's your forgiveness amount. Period. The end. That's it. If you have employees, then you're doing the separate calculation, and your reduction in expenses is the same as any other employer, no matter what. So there's two categories, self-employed and employer. For the self-employed, no tax adjustment. It's Schedule C, line 31 for 2019, divided by 12 times 2.5. If you also got PPP as an employer, in addition to that, then whatever is above this amount for Schedule C, line 31, okay, divided by 12 times 2.5, whatever is above that amount, if you also pay employees a W-2, not a 1099, a W-2, then whatever's forgiven above this amount of your Schedule C, line 31 divided by 12 times 2.5 Whatever else is forgiven for what you pay to employees, you're not going to be able to deduct that amount. If you have rent and utilities, okay, I'm not talking about home office, I'm talking about rent and utilities, then that is in addition to the employee wages that you're paying that you're going to have a reduction. So for 95% of Schedule C self-employed filers, you're not paying somebody W-2 in wages. For the 5% of you that are paying wages, you have the two calculations. So whatever you get forgiven above and beyond your Schedule C line 31 divided by 12 times 2.5, whatever gets forgiven above that, it's real simple. It's going to result in a reduction of your expenses on Schedule C only if you pay wages to an employee. It's not gross income. It doesn't go in line 1. It would be in other expenses as a negative expense. Sounds ridiculous, but that's how it will be accounted for. And it sounds weird to have a negative expense, but whatever your expenses are, you will need to reduce them by the amount that you are forgiven of PPP above and beyond the amount of Schedule C, line 31 of 2019, divided by 12 times 2.5. Yes, it results in the exact same thing as if it was included in gross income, okay? Because it's a reduction of your expense, but that is how it will work, and you have to make the adjustment in year 2020. Now, for those of you that filed Schedule C, but you didn't have one for 2019, you were a new business in 2020. You did not file anything Schedule C for 2019. And here's the key, and you got PPP based on 2020. So for most of you, that would only be either January and February or February. Whatever that time period is that you used to get the PPP amount of your loan based on 2020, you'll use the same calculation. Now, the SBA has not directly addressed this for those of you that did not get PPP based on 2019. For those of you that got it based on 2020, it might make sense to hold because there are no specific SBA guidelines related to this. However, common sense, which sometimes doesn't always work when you're dealing with governmental rules and regulations, but common sense would be that you would use the same calculation to achieve forgiveness as what you used to get the PPP. And why is that logical or common sense? Because the way that everybody else got PPP based on 2019 Schedule C, they're using the exact same calculation to achieve forgiveness. If you filed a 2019 Schedule C, you will not have the option of using 2020. Not. You will only be able to use 2019 filing a Schedule C, and it's only based on line 31 of 2019. All right, hey, hopefully that addresses everything related to the self-employed. I'm going to do another quick video recap for those that are employers. All right, hey, thanks for tuning in. If you're not a subscriber and I just helped you and you made it to here, do me a favor, click it. I love to see the numbers. That lets me know I'm putting together good videos with value. Doesn't cost you anything. I don't make any money off of your subscription, but I would appreciate it. All right, hey, don't you ever forget, you've never met a CPA quite like me. 2 more videos coming out, one for employer and then some additional FAQs related to PPP.